Hey guys, welcome back to the RH Negative Files. And this is going to be file number 3, and we are going to be talking about the Book of Enoch. What an ancient book that they could not ignore. What if one of the most controversial books in history wasn't removed because it was dangerous, but because it asked questions that people are still debating about today? Today we're opening File 3, the Book of Enoch, a book surrounded by mystery, quoted by early Christians, loved by ancient Jewish communities, and is still considered scripture by the Ethiopian Orthodox Church. Yet, absent from most of our modern Bibles? What's going on here? Why? Let's investigate. So, who is Enoch? Before we talk about the book, let's talk about the man. Enoch appears only briefly in Genesis. In fact, he only receives a handful of verses. But one sentence changed everything. Enoch walked with God. Then he was no more, because God took him. Think about that. Unlike many biblical figures, Genesis never says Enoch died. It simply says that God took him. That one mysterious sentence has inspired thousands of years of speculation. Where did he go? Why was he chosen? And what did he see? So, the book that explained the story. Hundreds of years later, a collection of writings began circulating under Enoch's name. Today we call it the Book of Enoch. It tells us a much bigger story, once filled with heavenly journeys, cosmic visions, the Watchers, judgment, and mysteries about the origins of evil. And whether these writings came directly from the historical Enoch is something scholars continue to debate. But regardless of authorship, their influence was enormous. Let's talk about the Watcher's return. In the Book of Enoch, the mysterious sons of God from Genesis finally receive a name, the Watchers. Now, according to this story, these heavenly beings were appointed to observe humanity, but some chose another path. Instead of simply watching, they descended to earth and they took human wives. And they shared knowledge humanity wasn't ready to receive yet. Astronomy and mathematics, metalworking, cosmetics, enhancements, the movement of the stars, and again, whether these accounts are understood as literal history, symbolic storytelling, or theological literature, it depends on the reader's tradition and beliefs. But the central theme remains powerful. Knowledge without wisdom can become destructive. So why was this book so influential? Here's something many people don't realize. The Book of Enoch wasn't an obscure manuscript hidden away from the world. Fragments of it were discovered among the Dead Sea Scrolls. The New Testament letter of Jude even quotes from it directly. That tells us that early Jewish and Christian communities were familiar with these writings. Even if later traditions made different decisions about which books belonged in biblical canon. So when people ask, why isn't Enoch in the Bible? The answer isn't as simple as saying it was removed. Different religious communities preserve different collections of sacred writings over time. The Ethiopian Orthodox Church, for example, still includes Enoch as scripture today. So why does this fascinate the RH negative communities? Now we arrive at the question that many came for. Why is the Book of Enoch so often discussed in RH negative circles? The answer is actually fascinating. The book speaks about unusual lineages, heavenly beings, hidden knowledge, and humanity's origins. Modern spiritual communities interested in the RH negative blood often find those themes resonate with the broader questions that they're already exploring about ancestry, identity, and ancient traditions. It's important to remember that the Book of Enoch was never mentioned with the RH negative factor. The connection comes from modern interpretations, not from ancient texts itself. But that's exactly why this conversation continues. People are trying to connect pieces of a puzzle that span mythology, religion, genetics, and spirituality. The hidden message. So, personally, I think one of the most profound ideas in Enoch has nothing to do with the giants or mysterious beings. It's about responsibility. Knowledge is powerful, but wisdom can determine how the knowledge is used. Every generation receives discoveries that can either heal or harm. And maybe that's why this ancient book still feels relevant today. Not because it answers every mystery, but because it reminds us that curiosity should always be prepared with humility. So here's the question I will leave with you on the closing reflection. If you could sit down with Enoch for 1 hour, what would you ask him? Would you ask about heaven, the watchers, the stars? Or would you simply ask, what did you learn that changed you forever? I'm not here to tell you what to believe. I'm here to invite you to explore the mystery, because every answer begins with a question. I'll see you in the next file. Oh, and P.S. Enoch becomes Archangel Metatron. So if Metatron's cube resonates with you, you could be like me, and we can know within ourselves that we are connected to Enoch. Peace, love, and light.